Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be having a look at the Manor Lords beta patch, which was released a few days ago. We're going to be having a look at all the changes, every change. So go get yourself a beverage or an ale and strap yourselves in, get comfortable because we're going through every change in the beta patch. So my first goal was to fix all the most common reported issues, and this is from the developer. Rate of Hildebolt's claims, and that was a problem because he was the Baron and he's claiming all the lands, particularly on the harder levels before 2 years is up and all the territories have been claimed, so it makes the game very, very hard. The famous none people spawning in huge numbers and refusing to do any work. It's like clusters of people grouping up and they all get basically jammed, traffic jam. The clogged trading posts, that can happen sometimes as some goods are just sitting there and they don't seem to be trading, even though there might be 30, 40 goods there. Perhaps it's something to do with the global supply. The game being stuck at the summary screen after a victory game is over. Can't say I've experienced that myself. Very weak archer damage, and that was because he did nerf them before release and probably nerfed them too much. Now he's trying to readjust so the archers don't actually have to shoot one person 20 times to actually kill them. Inefficient saw pitch, which also triggered generic storage full problem banners. Yeah, that is, constantly get those little banners popping up saying your saw pits are full. Problems with optimization in large cities, still some work to be done here. Inefficient marketplace supply. That can happen when it just seems like your markets have the necessary food, but then the houses aren't getting it, or it's not being supplied to the houses for some reason. Or the storage house might be really, really full, but there's not getting to the markets. There's a little bit of inefficiency there, I think, with the pops moving resources to and from those locations. Problems with farming, like crops erasing in the winter and inefficient harvest. I think there's a bit of work with farming overall that needs to be done. I find it a little bit troublesome. Too harsh oversupply, undersupply system. I think that's to do with the trading system, that prices vary too much and it's too harsh to enable towns to specialize. People and or livestock staying homeless even though there is living space in the settlement. So that's, I think it's just a bit of coding in the background that needs to be fixed. Overly high ale consumption. Oh yes, I know my people must be hammered all the time, must be drunk, walking around the town, not getting much work done. Perhaps that's why there's supply issues in the marketplace. So additionally to trading between regions easier, I made sure that the players can use trading posts to trade between their own regions without using the barter pack stations. That's a good change because I found the barter pack stations quite not very user friendly, and having to trade one resource to get another, integrating into the trade buildings or trading posts is really good. That just makes it so much easier, and the way the system sort of works, it looks really good, and that's I think something they can keep that and improve on that in the future. Each good type now has a switch that disables trading it with free merchants trade points in case the players want to only trade with another region. The displayed import price will adjust dynamically, showing the lowest possible price found and not applicable or not available if there is no good of this type anywhere to be found. Trade-related development branches were nerfed drastically because players argued that it made the game too easy. I think that's to do with the development branches reducing the cost of trade, a new trade route down to 25 silver, when it could be costing 400 or 500 silver without that. Instead, I think they've made it a percentage. Whenever a person dies, there is a 30-day mourning period that blocks growth. You can now preview this in the building panel of the Burgage plot by pressing tab. That's a good thing. So when someone actually dies in that Burgage plot, there's a mourning period, which is very realistic. And also the corpses now have visual representation when they're being carried from wherever they've died on the battlefield and to wherever they're going to be buried, either at the church or at the corpse pit. New upgraded retinue armor variations were added, so we've got some new styles to use when you're upgrading the retinue, changing the armor styles. That's nice cosmetic changes. They re-implemented a mechanic called annual royal tax or king's tax. Still deciding on the naming. It's a tax that is collected from the treasury once per year, goes to the king, that is calculated per resident, and in theory should slightly punish bad workplace optimization and make it more difficult to hoard huge amounts of cash. So that's like an annual tax that you have to pay to the king, and if you don't pay it, there's going to be penalties for that. The large granary building got a rework. Doors now properly animate. So that's just a cosmetic change on the large granary. And a new patron was added, Saint Maurice. That's like a new banner and flag that you can use in your game. Okay, these are the full patch notes. Major changes. So the King's Tax is now enabled, or an annual royal tax. Can't decide on the name. This tax is collected annually from all players, main player and AI, and goes to your liege. It's counted per population and therefore should become a counterbalance for players who hoard huge wealth despite having non-optimized economies. It's a work in progress. Now the player can go in debt without consequence, but in the future the player will lose King's favour and eventually the King's army will show up as enemies for players who refuse to pay. That'd be really good, actually, send a King's army coming up to collect the debt. Pay or we're going to trash you. Global local trade switch for trading posts. A player can now switch trade to local only in the trading post for each type of good if they want to use the trading post to exchange goods between their own regions but ignore the free merchants. For now, 2 trading posts in both regions are still required to make it work. Employed traders will prioritise to travel to the place with best prices to commence trade, and yes, potentially including regions owned by other lords. This can have interesting consequences in the future. For now, I reduced the transport distance from the calculation in order to make it more predictable for the player where the traders will go to the place for the best price. Regional wealth is still required for exchanging goods between regions with a trading post, since I want to keep the regions as independent economic units, which, in my view, a more realistic simulation of economy. Now we move on to gameplay and balance. Experimental. When consuming food, people will now pick a random food source instead of eating food in a specific order. Yeah, there was a system where you could actually basically game the game because they would eat meat, vegetables, eggs, honey, and it's a specific order that eat it in. So you could supply a certain amount of resource in one category and they'd never get to the next one, meaning you'd only have to supply a little bit and that's it, because they'd never actually eat it. Experimental fertility is no longer drained after crop growth reaches 100%, so that always micromanaging early harvest is no longer a preferred strategy. Yield may still increase over 100% growth if max yield is not reached. So they're just trying to stop a bit of manipulation with harvesting. When harvesting, the crops are directly added to the field inventory instead of the villager inventory. This was done to ensure that harvesting walk times aren't the main bottleneck for farming, especially for large fields. Side note, moving harvest season to August is also possible in a future patch if needed. I think that's probably a good idea, moving it to August, because it seems to be a little bit rushed to try and get it all done. Experimental. Prioritised oxen ploughing over transporting resources back to the granary and warehouse to reduce the ox walking back and forth from the ploughed field every time a new batch of resources is available for transport. Yeah, that's good. We can actually get those fields ploughed because of limited time to do it. Ploughing shed now adds 2 livestock worker slots, so we can add some workers to the ploughing shed to the ploughing. Lowered the rate of barren claiming regions and adjusted it to better reflect the game's settings. That's good. That's what I said earlier on. Bit of a problem. Remove the worker camp upgrade. It was meant for colony regions and will be re-added when they are properly implemented. Yeah, that's just your starting little camp that you can upgrade for a little bit of tent housing or temporary housing. Food producing residential plots no longer stock up on their produce before they share with the marketplace. So what was happening is the food, if you're inventory in your house is say 50 and you're harvesting 50 vegetables, growing vegetables, you need to wait till it reaches level 50 until they actually move it to the marketplace, which can take a long time. Now they'll move it as they basically collect it for whatever I guess they don't need for themselves. Increase saw pit log storage space to 5. That's good, because the log storage, I think, we used to be capped at 1, and you kept getting those messages up the top saying storage full. Experimental. When establishing a trade route, the merchants will no longer ore spawn in the nearest trade point. Instead, the game will distribute the merchants to circle between various trade points in order to make building trading posts right on the edge of the region less optimal. Yeah, because people were putting the trade posts right on the edge of the map, even if it's a long way from their village, because it was just more optimal for trading with the trade points. So this is going to make that a bit more difficult. It's not very realistic to that either. Increased warbow range attack from 4 to 12. So they're increasing the warbows so that hopefully the archers are a bit stronger. But I think they still need to be increased more from the early reporting. Experimental trade logistics development branch now lowers the cost of a new trade routes by 50% instead of clamping it at 25. That's what I said before. That was reducing the cost of a trade route from say 400 silver to 25. Now it's going to reduce it by 50%. So a route that costs 400 silver will cost 200. That's a lot better balance, I think. Cost of opening new trade routes now scales exponentially with every open trade route. So the cost is going to scale a lot higher and faster using this method. So it'll slow down the ability to trade and make lots of money faster, which is good because it was a little bit easy. Base cost of opening trade routes was increased from 12 to 20. That is before the good value multiplier. So just once again making the base cost more expensive. When market is oversupplied, the player can still export stuff, although for much lower price. There'll just be lower prices when goods are oversupplied, that's completely normal. The price multiplier for oversupplied goods is now 0.75 times for oversupplied and 0.5 times for critically oversupplied. How fast market is oversupplied no longer depends on the value of goods because it's punished having high value trade routes. Now the oversupply rates are equal for all good types. Okay, well that's a good change. Better deal development branch reduces the foreign import tariff by 50% instead of removing it completely. That's the same as establishing new trade routes. Instead of having a fixed price and just reducing by 50%, so that you still got a considerable cost there. Reduce the ale consumption by 75%. Yeah, all my people who are walking around like drunken sailors are always going to the ale house consuming lots of ale, so this will help fix that problem. So it's around 1/3 per family. That's good per month. Made the building placement steepness limits harsher, because the trading posts and churches often looked super janky on a very sharp slopes. Yeah, it was a problem. It was like they're building massive sort of bases for the churches and trading posts to sit on. Soldiers no longer trigger unburied bodies approval factor when corpses are in their proximity. It's just a little bit of a bug. Hitching post is free again to reduce chances of players getting stuck with no ox, no hitching post, and no ability to order an ox. That's good. It's just an issue that you could get stuck in a loop you couldn't get out of pretty much. Minor changes. Applied the mindfulness system that was initially designed for oxen to the free merchants. This system is used to reduce clumps and traffic jams. Well, anything that reduces traffic jams is good. Move the location of trades further off map to make sure there is some space for all the trade wagons, even if the players place the trading post right on the edge of the map. Just a little change for people putting trading posts on the edge of the map. If a trading post is clogged, traders are allowed to make transactions without entering the shed, as long as they are within the general building bounds. Okay, that's good. So you're not limited if you can't actually get inside because it's clogged with people. Change default AA under DX11 to TAA. Added a spatialization update for when recruits are sneakily teleported home when rallied to ensure collisions are properly calculated after teleportation. Minor glitches there. Added to check for idle villagers to avoid hanging around the graveyard. Random conversation since it looked weird. Yeah, it did. Made is close to camera value update on setting follow mode to make sure the game doesn't optimize animations or sound effects, thinking the character is still far from the camera. Disabled fire damage for people who have water buckets and are actively firefighting, plus reduce the fire damage amount. That's good. When all resource visualization slots are filled, villagers will transport to a random one instead of the first one found. This ensures less traffic jams, for instance, at the churchyard if all gravers are full already. Firefighting villagers will now ignore anti-clogging behaviour, waiting their turn at narrow pathfinding points. That's good. You're in a bit of a hurry. It's an emergency after all. Added a mourning period left UA element in the residential panel to display how many days of mourning are left until Burgage plot can bring in more family members again. If you don't want to bring in new people in a matter of days, the other one dying, it's not very realistic. Added mourning icon to the builder floater. Made sure mourning period is properly added to save data. After continuing the game after a victory, the camera should go back to the player's main region instead of levitating over the map edge. Disabled the ability to quick save during the game over victory cinematic. Disabled the ability to manual save the game after being defeated, and added a tooltip explaining why saves are disabled. So probably just a bit of a to stop people save scumming. Disabled quick save and auto save if game was lost. When Ox gathers a log, it will prioritize immediately bringing it to the saw pit or bringing it to the logging camp unless construction reserves forbids it. Oh, that's good. That was always a pain because sometimes your logging pit might be a little distance away to go there instead of walk straight past the saw post, the saw pit where it's needed. Just drop the log off there. Improved marketplace logistic efficiency and optimizations, great. Turn the AI retreat distance in an attempt to reduce how often its archers get into the loop of attack retreat. That's a good little improvement for combat. Added the missing trading post building thumbnail. Minor unit in town pathfinding updates. Swap the old UE4 destructible system for the new UE5 friendly chaos based debris system. For now, it's just used for chopped firewood catalogs. I think it makes the piles a bit look chaotic rather than really nice and neat like it has been. Further tweaks to properly choose the right default AA upscaler during the first time launch correctly for specific GPUs, e.g. RTX properly defaulting to DLSS. Just graphics update issues. Added King's Tax rate multiplier to the game setup settings. Due to mismatch in global market supply stock values, old saves from builds prior to the beta patch will have their market supply reset on loading. Experimental, due to changes on how food is consumed, a pop-up food consumed may no longer appear if a building is selected while a food is being consumed from inventory. Made the sheep flock a bit more closely together to look more like a herd. That's good. Steepness limits no longer apply when placing rally points. Players can now rally their militia on fields and pastures. Good. Trading posts will now display a price range for imports in case they can buy it from both other regions and from foreign trade sources. Increase sheep and lamb collision radius. Cap the number of workers who supply a single market store at the same time to two to reduce markets and getting completely clogged with new upped market supply frequency. Further optimize the market functions, make late game towns run smoother. Optimize the function that searches for a friend to idle tasks with, like conversations. Optimize the door opening animations. Increase the precision when checking whether a character is inside a building on fire and should take damage. Unified the currency icon in the mercenary company panel to make it clearer that you're paying with treasury and not regional wealth. That's good, because sometimes that's not clear. Added accommodation core after fire is started and turns people homeless so that they can be reaccommodated to other available burgage plots immediately. Since almost all families have more than one family member, I made the workplace reassign buttons aligned vertically instead of horizontally in the family list. Fixed old fonts being used in the family entry widgets. Some crash fixes. Fix the crash when doing a sequence of livestock import, export, and import because home wasn't cleared properly during export and the same animal was re-imported. Fix the rare crash if a hand cart fails to spawn, probably if the trading post was built so that part of it crosses the map edge. Fix crash on startup if OpenXR SDK is installed. And that's all the crash fixes. I have to admit, I have not had any crashes in this game, so it's been really stable for me. Bug fixes. Fixed victory status not resetting after starting a new game, leading to the game over screen not appearing if the player lost one multiple games without turning the game off. Fixed crop transport, not accounting for the farm work area, that's good. Fixed crops dying in the winter instead of actually increasing yield by absorbing nutrients from the snow, as it was intended for winter crops, that's good. Fixed oxen sometimes ghost ploughing a field when they are waiting. Yeah, that's odd sometimes because sometimes you just build a field and it's like the two fields get instantly ploughed really quickly. You don't see anyone doing it. Fixed plough and ox sometimes misaligning on 12 times game speed. Fixed farm workers not accounting for oxen ploughing the farms in some situation, leading to a lot of unnecessary collision in the field. Fixed crop rotation, unploughing the fields. Fix disbanded mercenary group becoming immediately available again after save load cycle. Fix the trading post export transactions not moving regional wealth between the regions correctly if owned by the same lord. Fix pause taverns fulfilling the entertainment requirement. Fix the temp for never-ending fires if a fire was triggered after the building was already on fire. That's good, so your whole village can't burn down. Fix problem banners not erasing after an entity gets erased. For instance, an animal runs away and leaves a not enough pasture space banner. Fixed update tasks sometimes triggering before a character gets assigned to their region. Fixed livestock sometimes being unaccommodated after order even though there is a stable or pasture space due to being transferred to the region twice. Once when buying and once when livestock merchant brings it to the building. Okay. Bit of a bug there. Fixed livestock traders trading between on-map regions, possibly sometimes paying twice because the ownership changing function was called both on pickup of livestock and on drop-off. Fix the game getting stuck on the game summary screen infinitely after winning or losing the game. Fix none people populating the town after a raid, sometimes just stand around waiting forever and possibly crash the game while reloading. Fixed blurry desktop icon. Save load menu header not translating after changing the language. Dead animals triggering the mourning period in burgage plots, halting growth, that's not good. Mourning period halting homeless accommodation. Migration growth of family members ignoring the 30-day mourning period sometimes. The game getting stuck after you click continue in sandbox until any main tab is pressed. The front lighting not being visible in the retinue editor if bounced light approximation is turned to low or off. Floating feedback text spawning during the cinematic mode. Autosave triggering during the cinematic mode. That's good, because sometimes it's annoying when you have an autosave pop up for those things. Storage full triggering for wrong buildings sometimes. For example, Sawpit having one of my logs. That did happen quite a bit. Fix attempt for oxen, bringing too many logs to the sawpit and crossing the storage limit. Fix free merchant sometimes getting stuck if a trading post was built too close to the edge of that portion of it was outside any region bounds. Fix horse wagon rotations getting a bit too wonky on slopes. Fix the bug where a unit could no longer move due to being forever stuck in waiting for pathfinding to finish if another unit with a lower squad ID got completely destroyed. Fix the wrong yarn basket carrying animation. Fix traders not importing from on-map regions even though the price is better than buying from trader points. Fixed farm workers and farm oxen stealing planks from fields which are getting fenced up. That's good of them. Fixed homeless problem banner not disappearing after upgrading homeless camp of a worker camp. Fixed animals not getting removed from a stable space, pasture space after death. Sometimes you just see your animals die and just lay there forever. You get hit by lightning and stuff. Added a dirty fix for families moving into homes but not registering correctly and not displaying in the UI, leading to a secret family living in one of the burgage plots. The reason is still unknown and being investigated. Okay, cosmetic changes. Added a new patron saint banner graphics, Saint Maurice. Added a carried dead body visualization. Made debris piles aligned to ground slope. That's good. Fixed the throw torch animation ending abruptly. New upgraded retinue helmet variation, pointy bassinet. Fixed the armor clipping through the leg of the upgraded retinue puffy sleeve. Dupont body variation. Needed upgraded retinue body variation, code of plates. New upgraded retinue helmet variation. Skull bassinet with gilded cover. Increased location precision for animals standing in the stable. Fix the praying animation. Fix the wrong door orientation for level 2 cottage variation B with a planked gable. Adjusted the two-handed weapon default idle pose to have a more natural stance. New militia helmet variation. Banded bassinet with a small aventail. Fix the male armor variants clipping with helmets on T3 militia units. Militia male will get their own unique variation soon. Rework level 2 granary model with proper door animation. So just a bunch of nice cosmetic changes there just to make the game a little bit more immersive and fix up some of those little annoying graphic bugs. And that's the end of the patch. Quite a big patch, quite a lot of fixes there. I must say, should improve the game a fair bit. And this is in beta, so you don't have to include this new game at the moment. It's just so everyone can test it out and see if there's going to be any more changes needed. There are a few more balancing changes I've already heard the dev mention. So yeah, this is the first major patch, so it looks pretty promising from my point of view. Yeah, fixing a lot of the issues that I thought were a problem, particularly that regional trade. I like the thing about the king's taxes, so it's making trading harder. It's taxing you more. You're not going to have as much wealth in your treasury to do things, or your regional wealth to do things. So it's really improving the game in that way. That's all patch for today. So if you enjoyed this update, I'm going to try and do updates every time there is a patch or expansion DLC, that type of thing. So if you do want to keep an eye on what's going on with Manor Lords and want some updates, hit the like button for me, subscribe to the channel, leave me some comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.